Guys, it's Kwana back again with another review and recap for what is been my most anticipated show of the last 6 months, and this is Paradise on Hulu, starring Sterling K. Brown, and it is created and brought to us by Dan Fogelman, who created This Is Us. So they've teamed up to create this show, and I have been waiting and salivating for this show for so long. For those of you who've been here for a while, been friends of mine for a while, y'all know how I feel about Sterling K. Brown. From everything from Army Wives to This Is Us to his movies. I literally watched that J-Lo Alien movie just for him. I am so excited to have him back on our screen and playing what seems to be a very similar role, in that he's always going to give us a good father figure lead type character, right? But then also to see him in an actiony role, and the implications for what this show is actually doing being bigger than that are so interesting. I'm so excited. So if you haven't had an opportunity to watch the first episode yet, the first episode aired on Sunday, I believe, on January 26th. They released it actually a day early, or either midnight on the 27th. And then the next 2 episodes aired on Tuesday, the 28th. This video is just going to be me recapping what happened in episode 1, called Wildcat is Down. There will be spoilers, but before we get into that, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what the show is, so you can see whether or not it's worth your time and whether or not you want to dial in and get into spoilers a little bit. But basically, the show centers around Sterling K. Brown's character as Xavier Collins, who is the head of the security detail for President Bradford, played by James Marsden. He gets hired or promoted to the head of the security detail during the beginning of the president's second term in office, and he wants him to be with him then so that he can become his head of security once he is no longer in the White House. As you may know, the president keeps security detail even after they are no longer the president, because they hold all of these security secrets that they knew from their time as president, and so they still have enemies who may try to harm them, so they still have security detail. Xavier has 2 kids and he is married. His wife is, I believe, a scientist or in research, and she wants to continue to work, and so she's going to be traveling and they have a daughter named Presley and a son named James. Now, the overall summary of the show is that his character finds out, and you do find this out in the trailer, so this isn't too much of a spoiler, but the former president is going to be assassinated, and he has to solve the mystery behind that, at the same time that it could allude to the fact that people may think that he was involved with, and so he has to both kind of like clear his name and find out who did. It's giving very much kind of like 24 like vibes, in my opinion, in that instance. Just off that premise alone, I will say that this show has really good banter between James Marsden's character and Sterling K. Brown's character, and also the character of Billy. I can't remember the actor's name right now, but I will have it down packed by the 2nd and 3rd episode, because I already like him. He plays another member of the security detail, and he and Sterling K. Brown have really good banter as well. So the writing of the show is very engaging. It's not going to be boring. It wasn't boring at all in the first episode. Very quick pace. He also has a really good relationship with the young actress who plays his daughter. I have to figure out her name, but she looks like one of the McClane sisters. Every time I see her on my screen for something, I'm like, she looks like the McClane sisters have a little sister that I didn't know about. I know that they had a brother, but I didn't know that they had a little sister, because she looks like a young China Anne McClane. Definitely really good rapport with her. I'm really excited to see what we get with that dynamic relationship of like her being a teenager with him being this stuffy security, and knowing that everything that he knows and how dangerous life could be. But the show is so good. It's so interesting. You get action, you get a little bit of comic banter, but there is a little bit of like sprinklings of maybe some, I don't know what I want to call it, sci-fi dystopian-esque type stuff going on, that if you're here for that, I think that this is a show that you should definitely watch. I so far loved the premiere episode. I would say, I don't know that if it was quite as strong for me as episode 1 of like This Is Us, but completely different shows. Definitely I would give this first episode a solid 8.5, maybe even a 9 out of 10. But without further ado, let's get into the spoilers. Okay, so I love how this first episode opens up with so many character details about Sterling's character Xavier without saying anything at all. We see him in bed, we get a zoom in on his wedding ring, we know that something is not right there, that either his wife is deceased, that they're divorced, that he is struggling with getting rest because of this. We then go to see him get dressed. It's not just a shot at his six-pack, but we also get a close-up of what seems to be bullet wound, which lets us know that he has been in the line of duty, which is an important detail. But then we also see the father part of him, to like the duality of that and him being a father figure, him leaving the breakfast items for his kids to make sure that they eat something healthy for breakfast, the little quirky message he leaves for them on the whiteboard. He goes outside to pick up his son's bike off the lawn, which I feel like that is a character detail, but also a detail about this world that we're in that we're going to come back to later. So I'm going to put a pin in that because I think I'm going to come back to that in later episodes of the show. And then we see him greet his neighbor, I think his name was Cole or something like that, across the lawn. Immediately I froze because I was like, whoa, this feels like the opening sequence to The Truman Show. I don't know if anybody else clocked that, but if you did, comment Truman down below in the comments. Then we just see him go on his morning run and this picturesque town that is definitely giving like Stepford Wives, Truman Show, Wayward Pines type vibes. So I was like, okay, I'm peeping something is up with this town. We don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of like Americana. It looks very small town USA, that kind of thing. It's like it feels a lot like that community that Disney made down in Florida that was supposed to be like a living community, like small town USA, Main Street or whatever. It feels a lot like that. But then we see him meet up with Billy, and I cannot remember the actor's name right now, but he plays one of the members of the security, and there's a cute little banter with him and Sterling K. Brown about the Mexican soup that he ate and messing up his stomach, and needing to talk to a man about a horse, and we can tell that they've been friends for a while. I really like to see that dynamic play out because I liked the times on This Is Us when him and Kevin were getting along, and they had that good brotherly camaraderie. Now, it didn't have to be a white guy, but he was giving me like very wholesome vibes, so I wasn't immediately like, okay, taken aback, because when we see the entirety of the security detail team, it seems like a very diverse, eclectic mix of guys, which seems very intentional. But we find out that there is a younger woman who is also a part of the security detail, and she's going to be coming into this. And then he goes inside to check on the president, and after doing the sweep of the building, which is definitely when we kind of lock in that the president is no longer the president, he's like a former president because it's not at the White House, we find out the president assassinated. I don't think that red stuff was supposed to be outside of you, Billy. I think it was supposed to be in, or Bradford, President Bradford. We get a montage, or a flashback, excuse me, of when they first met, or like when he first became the head of his security and he was testing him out. James Marsden is doing a great job in this role. Personal things aside, what may be going on in his real life, at times James Marsden is a great actor. I've always felt like he doesn't get enough shine for how good of an actor he can be at times, because people just often associate him with roles like X-Men or even Sonic now. He was giving great line delivery, was channeling his best mix between JFK and Tony Goldwyn from Scandal. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments if you weren't getting JFK, Tony Goldwyn vibes when you saw that character, okay? And so then we go back into present, and we see Xavier, kind of go into operative mode of figuring out, we've got 30 minutes before we have to call this in. We need to take in as much information as possible before somebody comes in and tries to cover this up. And from that, we get little tidbits about the president, his drinking problems, he may be having an affair, who's this strange woman named Sinatra, who he's kind of arguing with. That's his like vice president, what is going on there? We find out that, he has problems with his own family, him and his wife don't get along, his son. So we get a lot of kind of info dumping in these next sequences. But then we get a pivotal moment that is also another flashback where Xavier was injured protecting the president. And so this is a bonding moment, but it's also the moment when the president knows that he can trust this man implicitly. And we then kind of, as we speed ramp through the episode with a lot of things happening very quickly as he we get this information about the flashback, and we get the present day of him just kind of sweeping and gathering more evidence, more information, the earrings, like that, all the different mysteries and pieces that are going to be important probably as the season goes on. We find out the big reveal that the president's been dropping these little nuggets about things being bad and us not knowing how bad they are. Dan, if you got a mystic and a seer and a crystal ball back there in the writer's room that's telling some things, please let me know. Call me on the phone, okay? Get into my DMs and let me know where I need to go. We find out that a catastrophic event is going to be happening to the world, and they have been building a safe place in the mountains of Colorado for the president and for people who are selected by them. Xavier is going to be entrusted with it. We then kind of get the end of the show, which kind of wraps up all of these things. We see everyone being questioned once they have to call it in. We get the reveal that the woman who was speaking to the president was a member of the security detail, with a high-ranking agent or high-ranking secret service agent, maybe, Robinson. We still don't know who the Sinatra lady is yet, as of yet. Is she like the FBI head? What is she exactly? His wife, who is still his wife, but they've still not managed to work things out, apparently. And he has a fracture with his son, who did not show up for dinner. We don't know. So basically, we're getting all the players who could have done it, because this is going to be a whodunit. And I love a good whodunit, okay? I'm so excited for that. But then we get the reveal of all, that this is a very Truman-esque type event, because they are underneath the mountains of Colorado in a dome, basically. They are not on top of the surface. So we don't know what's going on surface, which adds to the implications of this world being better. Now listen, that made me so excited when I saw this, because it leaves so many questions. There's the mystery that could have just been a very 24-esque kind of thing, but then we have this other element that makes it so interesting. I'm so excited to see what they might do with this show. So what I need to know from you are, what are your initial episode 1 theories? If you have watched episode 2 or 3, you're going to have to wait until tomorrow when I can release those videos. But tell me right now, what are your initial thoughts of episode 1 of this show? I'm so excited to see. Dan, please have a plan for how the show is going to wrap up and how information needs to be revealed to us, so that we not only complete the story arc, but we don't end up like Wayward Pines. Please and thank you, okay? Okay, guys, I'm so excited, as you can tell. So if you plan to follow along with Paradise, do me a favor. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends and your family, because we're going to be talking about this all season long. And I will see you guys in a couple of days. Toodles.